A 9-year-old girl has been identified as a suspect in the burning down of Ebeano supermarket in Abuja, with goods worth billions of naira destroyed. In a widely circulated CCTV footage, she's seen lighting up the fire that destroyed the entire shopping complex before leaving the scene. This incident has generated varying opinions on what is more important, making the suspect pay for alleged crime or protecting the suspect because she's a minor. Joining us now to speak on this is a lawyer and child rights activist, TAIWO. AKINLAMI. You're welcome to the show, TAIWO.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be with you this morning.
Good to have you. Okay, let's jump straight at it. This is a case of a minor in conflict with the law.
Yeah.
But then billions of naira worth of goods already destroyed. Is she liable? In what way should we look at this situation, given that there were, at least from the footages that we have seen, there were at least 2 adults, her mom, I presume, and the other lady, even though the police has not properly established what has happened. All we have seen is a leaked video saying that, oh, maybe she was sent by her mom, maybe she was accompanied, etc. Where does the law stand on an issue like this?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. Once again, it's a sad situation we are dealing with. A major investment has been lost. Police put it at over 5 billion naira. And it is sad. Nobody expects to invest that much in business and lose it the way it has been lost. Also remembering that this is the second time Ebeano supermarket is going to be experiencing that kind of incident. It happened in Lagos. In Lagos. They were raced down, the first one. Again in Abuja. It appears to be a trend. Is there a conspiracy against the supermarket? Is it because they are careless? What exactly is the issue? So we empathize with Ebeano supermarket. We feel that nobody deserves to experience that kind of incident. Not once, not to talk about twice. Now, having said that, what the law is interested in is that anyone who offends must face the consequences, whether you are a child or you're an adult. But the way to do it is what is important, the processes to employ when you are addressing issues that has to do with children. Now, Section 204 to Section 256 of the Child Rights Act makes copious provision on how to handle children. Now, the law does not support anybody going scot-free. That's what I've said. But the law says there's a way to deal with children. Now, please note, by virtue of Section 277 of the Child Rights Act, a child is anybody below 18 years old. And considering the fact that that incident occurred in Abuja, the Child Rights Act is fully enforced in Abuja. And I'll take you to Section 204. Section 204 says, no child shall be subjected to the criminal justice process or to criminal sanctions, but a child alleged to have committed an act which would constitute a criminal offense if he were an adult shall be subjected only to the child justice system and processes set out in this act. No matter what the child has done, including murder, including manslaughter, in whatever the offense, the child shall not be subjected to the criminal processes that an adult is subjected to. And look at Section 205. Section 205 says the child's right, the right of the child to privacy, specified in Section 8 of this Act, shall be respected at all stages of child justice administration in order to avoid harm being caused to the child by undue publicity or by the process of labeling. Now, the Act went further. Accordingly, no information that may lead to the identification of a child offender shall be published. Records of a child offender shall be kept strictly confidential and closed to third parties, made accessible only to persons directly concerned with the deposition of the case at hand or other duly authorized persons. Now, this is the point. This child has been accused of arson. And in the most unprofessional manner, this video has leaked. Even within the court, when the child is before the court, the media is chased out.
We saw that in the Baba Jesha thing.
Yes,
when the
media is asked to leave. As a matter of fact, the Child Rights Act is an improvement on the Juvenile and Young Persons Law, which the Child Rights Act abrogated in the Federal Capital Territory and abrogated in the states that has promulgated the Child Rights Act, Child Rights Law in 25 states of the Federation. Now, it is clear, even under the Juvenile and Young Persons Act, when a child is in conflict with the law, when the matter is going to be addressed, it is addressed in the chambers of the judge or the magistrates, not in public. What has happened right now is that in the process of righting a wrong, we have created another major problem. We have reviewed the identity of this child. The media houses also have been unprofessional in showing this video because it ought not to be shown. This video is not supposed to leak in the first instance. If it leaked, did Ebeano leak it? If it leaked, did the police leak it? Now, if Ebeano leaked this one, did they leak the one, the so-called interrogation that the child was going through? And if you look at the law also speaks about the people that should be responsible for dealing with matters that has to do with children. You know, a matter that has to do with children, criminal offense like this, is addressed by the family court. The family court does not sit alone. At the magistrate level and at the high court level, the family court sits with an assessor, two assessors, as a matter of fact. One of them must be schooled in child psychology. In the magistrate court, one of them must be a woman who has worked with children, social workers, social inquiries. You know, there are one presumption of innocence when it comes to an adult. When an adult commits an offense, the adult is considered innocent until proven guilty. But when a child commits an offense, there are two levels of presumption. Presumption number one, the child is innocent until proven guilty. Presumption number two, the possibility that the mental and the intellectual capacity of the child cannot process what he or she has done. So therefore, the onus of proof is on the state or the people accusing the child to prove that the child has the mental capacity and the intellectual capacity to carry that out.
Let's play with the other side of the topic here, and I agree wholeheartedly with the rights of a child being protected, and I'm sure that is also Steve's position, 100%. But if, sadly, we have been already seen that video, it did in fact go viral, and in that video, the alleged child is seen to, of her own accord, approach a section of the supermarket where lighters are, take a lighter and light other flammable goods. Not once, not twice, she reignited, is seen to allegedly reignite that lighter and apply it to other flammable goods. And when it looked like a passerby was going through the aisle, said person stopped and then applied it. So if you look at the other side, I understand that with the sections of the Penal Code that you've read,
the Child Rights Act.
The Child Rights Act. If we look at the Penal Code, for example, I believe Section 50 says that a child who's accused of a crime may be exonerated if it's established that they do not understand the nature and consequence of said crime. But it does appear in this case, with this video that we have seen, that the child did in fact understand what they were doing. Or at the very least, even if consequence was the side of it, it did look as though there was an intention to start a fire. And that was shown by the two times they went to reignite that lamp. So when you're talking about correcting a wrong and applicable punishment, what happens next?
Okay, this is my thinking. You see, everybody's seen this video. People are not tried in the public, in the court of public opinion. The public opinion has never sentenced anybody to death. That is why, or condemned anybody. And the court now says, because this is what the public is thinking. You know, the Supreme Court sentenced an entire village to death for accusing a woman of being a witch and lynching her. Now, that was public opinion. They believed she was a witch. They were convinced, and they did it in the glare of the public, and they stood by it. But by the time the law came in, it was wrong. They have done what is wrong. Everybody looking at this video, what is the level of expertise that we have to judge what has happened? To a large extent, this child is a child in conflict with the law. You don't even call him a suspect. You don't even call her an accused person. She's a child in conflict with the law. That's number one. Number two, she's presumed innocent until proven guilty. Number three, it is presumed that she does not have the mental and the intellectual capacity to have understood what she was doing. The onus of proof in those two levels are still, the onus of proof is still on the prosecution or the state to state what has happened. So this is the point. At the end of the day, over 5 billion have been lost. Very painful. But is 5 billion comparable to the soul of a child? I say no. No. Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world, controlling over 219 billion, one person. How much is 5 billion naira to 200 and something billion? That's how much a human being can amass. Jeff Bezos have now told us. We were told before that Mansa Musa is the richest human being that has ever lived. Jeff Bezos is breaking that record. It's likely to be. And some people have speculated that she is. And let me also say that the disposition of the law, I keep saying the law does not say this child must go free. No. The law is saying this child must be dealt with, but our disposition must not be retributive. Our disposition must be rehabilitative restoration. What do we do? And one of the things that the court also does is social inquiry. If this child actually committed this crime, if she was sent, how did she become a person that has the capacity to carry out this kind of thing? The law is also interested in that. Because at the end of the day, in developed climate, they change the identity of this kind of children. They help them, give them another fair chance to enter the society again and do something different. Now, Barack Obama, who became the president of America at the age of 47, experimented with India hemp. Now, the difference between the handlers of Barack Obama and us in this country is the fact that we do not see, we throw away the child with bath water. We do not separate what the child does from who the child is. There are two different things. A child may be mischievous. Does that mean the child is an architect of mischief? Frank, I've forgotten, is he Abaga or something? I
think that this is different, though. This is one thing. I mean, if, for example, a child took a sweetie out of a shop without paying for it, you know, that's obviously morally wrong. It's not how you're supposed to do it. In that situation, the child would also be in conflict with the law. But this is different. As you've already, it's different because there's a greater loss. I
agree.
A 20 naira sweetie is not the same as $5 billion worth of damage.
Can I explain something to you? From the beginning of my conversation, I've made the point I'm making.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is this. Everything that needs to be done could have been done. You see, why we are here is not whether the child deserves to face the music. That's not what we're here. I'm not also saying that the child should be allowed just to go.
To walk.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying, what I've been saying since this news broke is, have we followed due process? Have we respected the best interest of the child? Have we been child-friendly? Have we followed the law that we made? This is the Child Right Act.
The answer to a lot of those questions is no, right?
Yes.
As you've already said, those videos
so that's the fundamental point.
She shouldn't have been questioned without her parents. So what happens now? Are those people more likely to be prosecuted and punished by the law than the person who perpetrated in the first place?
This is my position. Our position in our organization, we have caused a letter to be written, which will be made available to the Inspector General of Police on Monday. We want the Inspector General of Police to investigate how that video leaked, because it should not have leaked. It's against the law. We want the police hierarchy to investigate those who conducted that interview, that so-called interrogation that went viral. We want the police hierarchy to investigate all of that and bring them to book. Now, why effort must not be relented in getting to the root of the matter and investigating the matter and ensuring that justice is done not only to the child but to Ebeano supermarket. But the truth of the matter is this. Why I'm particular about this is that I've worked within the administration of justice for some time as a lawyer. And I have seen times without number how police handles this kind of thing. This case is an index in how police operates. Police, you see, this law says police should be specially trained. There's a specialized children unit, specialized police children unit that's supposed to handle matters that has to do with children. People that are trained, judges are supposed to be trained, magistrates are supposed to be trained, everybody is supposed to be trained. Such training is not going on. So the point now is that there are legion and plethora of cases where children are languishing in detention today, when they have been denied of liberty and freedom because the police doesn't know what to do. And that is why it is important for us. This is a case in point where we can bring all of this matter to the fore. At the end of the day, it's not only about this case. Have you seen cases where recently we had a case of a 16-year-old child who the police insisted that she must swear to an affidavit, he must swear to an affidavit that he was 20 years old. And after much effort, we were able to discover that that child is 16 years old. That's another thing the police does. The police arrest a child offender because they want to try him or her in a normal court. They tell the child, how old are you? The child says, I'm 16. They say, you cannot be 16. You that I'm looking at, you are 19, you are 20. These are issues that are going on. So this case that has happened now crystallizes this issue again, that we are yet to come to terms with the reality of dealing with our children when they offend, because these children are the future of the nation. There's no keener revelation of the soul of a nation than how they treat their children. That's what Mandela says. And it is important for us to understand that when we are dealing with our children that are offended, we don't throw away the child with bath water at the end of the day. That is very, very important. That is critical. And that is the point I'm making.
That's correct. And I appreciate that. Yeah. And I also see that you're not very comfortable with the video, that we've been showing since. We apologize for that, but then, it's what is in the news. I just wanted you to clarify further, given what Femi has asked, as to, yes, you would like to see the right of this child respected. The police obviously are not doing, the best thing. Yes. So that has thrown up the bigger issue of how do we get the police command to deal with minors when they are in conflict with the law. Mm-hmm. But going beyond that, mm-hmm. you were going to explain what your position was, that if indeed it is shown or it is proven that there are adults, and in this very instance, we saw two adults who accompanied the young girl, to that place. We saw in the video when people had been evacuated mm-hmm. outside. Mm-hmm. We saw one of the adults with a smirk on her face, almost basically, grinning at what has happened, which could be indicative of an intention. Mm-hmm. If the law establishes that maybe indeed that, that child was used to perpetrate arson, what will be the position of the law as to the two adults that were with her?
Well, you see, when a crime is committed, mm-hmm. there are three categories of offenders or suspects. Okay. You have the accessory before the fact. That is the person who initiated the process mm-hmm. and make it happen, or direct it, or knows about it. And so we have the actual offender who is used to perpetrate the crime. Then we have people who aid and abet and escape. Yeah. By silence, by preparing a place for the person to hide and all of that. Now, in this matter, if the adults are found to be culpable, they are going to face the wrath of the law. That's number one. Number two is the fact that, apart from that fact, even if the adults are not culpable, one of the recommendations of the law is restitution. One of the things is that if a child is found to have committed an offense and cost the other person a lot of investment, or the person has lost money or resources or items, the law says that the parents of the child, must pay damages as awarded by the court. Now, whether these parents have the so even when they are not, except it is found that they are not negligent in not watching after their children not to commit that crime, even if those adults now did not initiate this crime, the point is that incident reportedly happened at 7 o'clock. What is a child of 9-year-old doing in the supermarket alone by herself by 7 o'clock in the evening? So is a child is at that point of what happened, allegation of what happened, is a child that was accompanied. You don't go to supermarket and leave that big and leave a 9-year-old to roam around. Even if it has not been established that the child was sent, the adults who brought her to the supermarket already are likely to have a case to answer before the court. That is very, very clear. It is not something that they can escape. Immediately this news broke, I was saying that we always tell parents, when you take your child out, always watch out for your child. Be sure At every point in time, you must be able to give an account of where your child is. When you're not able to do that, you are already, creating a problem, because that child could have been kidnapped. Anything could have happened to the child. The child could have been lost. Right. If the child gets missing at that point, the parents are liable. So it is not a total loss for the law and for the society. And for
do you know the situation with the young girl now? You've written the police command.
Yes.
Is she, as a suspect, is she still in custody, in court? Or
I don't think she was detained.
Okay.
I don't think she was detained. And one of the things we are doing by Monday is we want to reach the parents of the child, want to reach out to the child, want to understand what is going on right now. We are not only interested, there are two things we are interested in. We are interested in calling the attention of the IG to the law, and how that law has been flouted by the police, by the media, by as many people, by bloggers, and all of that. So we are calling attention. Number two, we are interested in this case. Now, note that our interest is the child. We're interested in this case as to how the child is treated. And we cannot be interested in how the child is treated without being interested in the root of the matter. How did the matter get here? If the child was engaged, was prompted, was prodded to do what she has alleged to have done, we're also interested in the fact that those who did that are also brought to book.
Will you also be interested, just in case she did it on her own, will you also be interested in how she's been treated at home? In case the parents are like,
I'll be interested in that. Because you see, one of the things, when we talk about social inquiry, we are interested in the making of a child offender. How did he or she become a child offender? There's something I always say to my friends when we work on street children. They tell me these children are stubborn and all of that. I said, no, there's no child. There's hardly any child who is going to experience the love of a father, the love of a mother, who will wake up one day and says, he or she prefers to be on the street. It's tough. It hardly happens. Now, to every rule, there's an exception. There are children, maybe one or two, who just get into wrong influence, who just want to explore. But in most cases, when children are on the street, in the work that we have done, we find that it's because the home front is no more sweet. They cannot sing the song anymore, sweet home, and they need to find their level outside the home. So for me, our interest really is to look at, take an helicopter view, an holistic view about this matter. Even if that video has not leaked and this matter has not gone viral, we would have been interested if the news broke that a 9-year-old has allegedly committed an arson. We would have been interested in how the 9-year-old is treated. We would have been interested in how the 9-year-old became a person that can be bold enough to cause such
major damage.
Major damage. We'll be interested in that. But as it is now, the point we must make is that this is an index. This is the way the system operates. This is the way how the system sacrifices its own children. This is the way how the system feeds fat on the blood of its own children. And it ought not to be so, because there's no society where children are not be delinquent. And let me give you a quick example if I have the time. In a country called Iceland, many years ago, their children were delinquent. They were hooked on drugs, they were hooked on alcohol and all of that. And the first thing they did was, they didn't ask the children, they asked themselves, what have we done to make children like this? And what did they do? They found that the children who were more delinquent, the children who were hooked on drugs and all of that, were children whose parents did not have much time with. And what did Iceland government do? They created a fund. Spend more an hour with your child and you get so amount. Spend 2 hours to get so amount. They incentivized the idea of parents spending time with their children. In 5 years, the thing was reversed. Go and check the internet now. Iceland has one of the most disciplined young people in the world today, because the country...
It's a very small country, though.
Yes, they are. But the truth of the matter is that if it can happen in a small country, it means it can happen in a big country. It's about the action they took to ensure, to pay attention. If it were here, we are going to be... If you see our boys, 1,000,001 boys, all our conversation is about bad boys, smoking weed and all of that. The youngest is 13, 18, 17. We're not going to ask the question, what social environment created this kind of children? A nation will always deserve its own children. We may not be able to create the best of the world for our children, but we must be interested in preparing our children for the future. But what has happened in Nigeria is that we are neither preparing a future, and we are not also preparing our children for the future. It's a tragedy, and we are sitting on a keg of gunpowder. We pray and we hope that it will not explode, and when it explodes, all of us may be consumed.
Understood. Understood.
Interesting. Femi,
it is very interesting.
Lessons here and there on the part of the police, what they need to do, on the part of parents and those who are guardians who are, looking after our kids. I mean, beautiful analysis that you've given us there.
Thank you very much. Yes, we've really enjoyed that conversation. I do think the take home for all of us is that when children are involved in any type of situation, we have to first remember that they are children and have to be treated accordingly. Adults should speak to adults. Children should be protected. I think we can all agree on that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
It's not a name female bear often.
It's not common, but I am unique.
Maybe it's better you pronounce the full name. Adefemi.
Adefemi.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for joining us, TAIWO.
You're welcome.
Duty to be here this morning.